Hello, hello, ladies. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Doing great.
Very good to hear. Well, I'm very excited to have you join us. Today, we're going to chat about revolutionizing donor engagement and impact measurement with AI. Just for anyone watching, we're going to kind of get into some intros here so you have some time to get settled in. And then we'll just jump right into it. So Christina Smith is the sales director for Inuvo and which is a leading provider of AI-driven advertising solutions. She's a dedicated nonprofit advertising specialist focused on maximizing fundraising efforts by helping others explore how to use AI for good, which I think is a huge topic that people are always kind of chatting about now. She's about 15 years in media and brings an extensive experience in project management, strategic budget planning, campaign execution, and business consulting. Her background is in digital fundraising as both a client and a technology vendor, and that helps equip her with innovative solutions for her nonprofit partners and enhance their campaign performance and boost their donor engagement. She is a Southern girl who loves to travel, music, food, sports, gardening, and animals, and she studied communications, journalism, and public relations at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. Did I say that right, Christina?
That's right.
Okay, very good. So a Southern girl, did you grow up in Arkansas then?
I sure did. Born and raised.
All right. Is University of Arkansas, that's Razorbacks.
That's right. We like to call them hogs.
Pig suey.
Hey, look at you.
I grew up in Texas. I feel like I'm like, probably disappointing my ancestors right now or something, but that's exactly. So Katie, you also work at Inuvo and you're the director of marketing and creative services. And you also have about 15 years of experience in marketing, some creative roles, and as a professional artist, which is very interesting. You'll have to tell us a little bit more about that. But that kind of helps you bring a unique blend of, experiences and context in. So some strategic thinking, creative problem solving, and artistic expertise. So that's extremely important when you're the director of creative services. Tell me a little bit more about that artist part. Like, what kind of art do you do?
Sure. So this actually started off as like a little side business of mine a few years ago and turned into a hobby, turned into business. And I had a particular knack for pet portraits. So I did a lot of dogs back in the day. Don't do it anymore, but
I might just have to commission some pieces from you. We've got a 16-year-old who's probably going to leave us any day now. So we've been kind of talking about how to memorialize her. So I might just have to shoot you a little personal email after this.
I would love it. Yes, absolutely.
So we'll get back a little bit to Katie's background. She oversees the marquee product of Inuvo, which is IntentKey, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the coming presentation and questions. But she oversees brand development, marketing strategies, creative direction, and is a self-proclaimed AI junkie. Is passionate about exploring the potential of artificial intelligence in marketing and advertising. She's also located in Arkansas, which is where Inuvo has one of their headquarters, and actively stays involved with local groups there in Central Arkansas. Are you also a Southern girl straight from Arkansas, Katie?
Yes, again, born and raised.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Camber. I'm the product marketing manager here at GiveWP. Have been with the company for about 3.5 years now, made my way into this little role, and now I get to chat with partners and nonprofits alike and kind of figure out how we can make sure that Give is providing all of our partners and our program managers and our organizations with everything that they need to make a big difference in the world. So I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're watching with us. For those of you that don't know, there is a live chat option and we will have a Q&A at the end. There's no question that you should not be asking. If it comes to your mind, throw it in there. If we can answer it, we will. And we'll do that towards the end of the conversation, but you can throw them throughout the entire chat. The next little housekeeping note I want to to throw out there is that though we are live right now, this will be available as a recording on YouTube and Facebook immediately afterwards. So don't feel like you have to scramble to write a bunch of stuff down. You can always revisit. The chat is also live, so you can always see those questions that got asked as well, and any links that got dropped in there. So really just, we want you to immerse yourselves in what we're about to tell you. So, alrighty, cool. So, Katie, can you just like very briefly give us, I know we're going to do a presentation and we're going to dig in pretty deeply today, but can you give me just a brief overview of Inuvo and its mission?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you again. It is a pleasure to be here today. So
Happy to have
in
you.
the most simplistic terms, Inuvo is on a mission to revolutionize advertising through the power of AI. So that's a big statement, but at our core, we aim to understand the why behind online audiences, in their interest, in their intent in products and brands. And we achieve this through our proprietary AI called Intent Key. And so our company really stands out in two key ways. One, our large language model AI. Intent Key reads and learns from the web to build sophisticated audience models for online advertising. And we do that without relying on cookies or personal consumer data. And then the other part is our predictive measurement AI. This is engineered with methodology to confidently optimize your advertising spend across channels, as well as within specific tactics of programmatic campaigns.
Okay. What is MMM?
Media mix modeling.
Oh, okay. Got it. Perfect. I was like, I think that's what she means, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, cool.
We'll have some lessons on vocabulary here in a few.
I know. It's always there's so much jargon and abbreviations and vocab words, and I feel like I'm always like, this means something different to everybody else. So, I'll always ask there. Okay, well, that's good. So, Christina, when we're talking about donor impact and donor engagement and measurement of your impact, whether it's social impact or direct tangible impact, we run into issues all the time with our organizations. But over at Inuvo, what are some of the biggest challenges that y'all see that nonprofits are facing in regards to like engagement and impact measurement?
I think an industry-wide is privacy, and it's consistently evolving because it's as what we as humans and users, it's what we want. And then you have your other side of us that are marketers and are like, wait, we want to reach all these people and know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
But it is also a good thing. With change comes good things. So the increased privacy is great. But once the cookie disappears, there are some concerns. And we have the key to targeting without a cookie. However, we still utilize cookies for that validation of attribution. Once that is, the cookie completely disappears, it will limit retargeting. It will also, reduce the frequency caps and the ability to do that. But most importantly, it's going to kill attribution as a visual. So we're not going to be able to necessarily see that direct attribution from this ad received this number of donations. So we have to change the way things are looked at. And that's how our AI is able to predict and utilize that to increase the performance of your campaigns, as well as predict that attribution that we can't see any longer.
And we see the demise of the cookie come in any day now. Especially, what was it, 2 years ago or so, you had to start opting into things on social media. And I did, at first I was like, yes, I don't want you tracking my cookies. I don't want you doing anything. And then I got it, which I knew as a marketer, like what that was going to mean. But then I started getting the craziest ads, and I was like, just kidding. I want to see things I actually want. Like you can track me. That's fine. I don't need men's underwear ads, but thank you. So that's really coming down the pipeline. And I think, there's something to be said for, there's always been AI, right? AI is, that's Grammarly itself is AI. There's AI when you're doing search stuff, or that's how you get served things on the internet. But I think that this, influx of AI tools has really started to freak people out. Like there's just so not in a scary way, but there's just so much stuff out there. Like, how do I know what I should use? How do I know what's going to move the needle for me? Am I going to invest in all of these tools and then not really see an ROI? Is it something that's long term? Like I always think about a couple of years ago when everyone was talking about the metaverse. The metaverse is going to change everything, right? And it's still out there, but living in the metaverse is a lot longer off than I think some of those big proponents of it is. So I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, is it worth it too? And I think it's really important to kind of talk about like the potential of AI, not just in the realm of nonprofits, but what it can do in general, and really why it's going to be able to transform donor engagement and fundraising efforts, and just kind of what excites you about that, what you think it's going to look like in 5 years, from a very realistic standpoint, what your thoughts are, Christina.
Well, if you think about this, you kind of have a personal assistant with you all the time. Because AI is everywhere, and even in the shortest form of when it started finishing our texts for us, that's AI, something. So I think what excites me the most is that we do have a solution in place, and what that allows us to do, like you were saying, you don't want to see those men's underwear ads. We want to be able to say, what are you interested in? What are you consuming online? Why would you be a good person to show this ad to motivate you and to really see it at the right time to tug at those heartstrings, particularly for nonprofits, based on if they are interested in children, education, animals, whatever that may be. We're able to gather that information based off their use of the internet and their behavior on the internet, and then show them ads that are relevant to them, so that they are like, yeah, I do. Thank you for finding me. I do want to give to that cause.
Yeah, I actually have been looking for a charity for children's leukemia or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that we talked about this a little bit a couple of months ago, talking about social impact and hyper personalization and things like that. And it's such a delicate balance, because it's like, yes, people want more privacy, but also we are very online. We're attached to our phones. We're attached to our computers. And we also don't want to be served things that we're not interested in. You see that a lot when we're talking about like even how the algorithms on social media change, and it's like, why am I seeing this? I don't really interact with this. And so it's really like a fine line. And it sounds like what Inuvo has done is been able to figure out, well, how do we pull all this information in without that personally identifiable information, right? So is that kind of where you guys straddle that line, is that you can, like pull all that in, but it's not necessarily directly tied to Camber, the person, at 4:55 p.m. on Tuesday. Right. Okay.
Exactly. We call it's like demo geo agnostic. It doesn't, because in reality, you don't really care who someone is, but you care what they're interested in, what motivates them, why they would give, and how active they are, where you can find them with certain, channels, if they are a dedicated, CNN news reader, or they're watching Discovery Channel. And that way we're able to find them and put that ad right in front of them based on their interest and what motivates them, without caring who they are, as long as their why is to donate.
Right. And at the end of the day, we talk about that all the time. The point is to get to the heart of it, the why of it, pull on the heartstrings, pull on the emotion a little bit. And at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, you're not digging in, you're not going to get qualified leads, and people are not going to donate to you anyways. So, you gotta find a way around it. So, okay, I know that we're going to have a presentation, and then we're going to dig into some questions about that. I'm very excited to talk particularly about the case study that y'all get to later on. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on the screen, let y'all drive the bus for a minute, and then we'll dig into some questions. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Right. Here we go. There you go, ladies. Have at it.
Thank you. So we are going to speak more about Inuvo and our perspective on AI and nonprofits. So let's just jump right in here. So today we're going to take a little dive into AI with marketing, exploring its potential to reshape the way nonprofits engage with donors and measure advertising impact. We'll cover understanding AI, seeing AI in action. I'll then hand it over to my friend Christina to showcase how AI can be applied to nonprofits. And we'll close with some conversation around privacy and cookies. So before we really get started, let's level set on what AI actually is. So artificial intelligence has a very fancy definition, but the bottom line, as this quote illustrates, is AI is the science of making machines smart. And within that, there are different ways of making them smart. So thanks to tools like ChatGPT and Claude AI, this jargon went from being, engineer speak to somewhat common vocabulary, what felt like overnight. And we hear these terms a lot more than we used to, and we will reference some of these terms today. So as a quick overview, machine learning. This is like teaching a machine how to do something by showing it a lot of examples, letting it try on its own, and then helping it learn from its mistakes until it gets really good at it. Natural language processing. This allows machines to understand human language using words just like we do. A specific technique of this is called large language modeling, LLMs, which not only understand but generate text by ingesting vast amounts of data. And then lastly, predictive analytics helps identify future outcomes based on historical data. So we were just touching on this. While it does seem like one day we woke up and the whole world was talking about AI, it has actually been around a while, but it was mostly unnoticed. So from our Netflix recommendations, YouTube suggesting videos, Gmail finishing our sentences, AI has been working behind the scenes to make our digital experiences more personalized and efficient. And in fact, Inuvo has been in this space for a long while, developing our Intent Key product that was first created in a lab in UCLA nearly a decade ago. But now AI feels front and center. We all see that every day, all day, every day. Today is AI is more prominent and accessible than ever before. And with tools, again, like ChatGPT and Claude AI, Copilot, really taking center stage. So these tools are revolutionizing the way that we work and create and communicate. There's tools for writing, tools for image creation, there's video tools, presentation builders, content, project management, you name it. This AI stack here showcases tools that Inuvo's marketing team alone has tested, and many of which we've implemented into our regular workflow. And, it's important to note, Inuvo is an AI company. We've been doing AI for a while, like I said, long before the big ChatGPT boom. And it was important for us in offering an AI solution that we practice what we preach and use other AI tools. And while we were really well positioned to quickly adopt AI into our marketing efforts, I think we were even surprised at the impact it made to just completely change not only our output, but what our day-to-day looks like, the time savings, and so much more. So how do we start putting AI into action? We all know the saying, work smarter, not harder. And with so many AI tools now at our disposal, it is important to assess your needs and first evaluate, where you could benefit from using AI. Where do you need some time savings on internal processes? And, what are repetitive tasks that could be improved? Who are AI consultants that you would want to use as a resource, or AI providers you'd want to partner with? And seeing the AI in action is really the only way to know what is going to work for your specific needs. And with that, AI is not meant to be a one-size-fits-all thing. Not too long ago, the conversations in the AI world felt centered around like who's going to be the next big thing in AI and who will sort of dethrone OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT. But the beauty of specialty AI is it's not about one system that will reign supreme. It's about finding the best tool in a big toolkit for your specific use case. So let's narrow that down a bit. A popular use case category for AI adoption is, of course, content creation. And the market is full of options to do just that, from text and images, videos, just like that slide previously showed. The capabilities of OpenAI are endless. ChatGPT, can absolutely transform your blog or your grant writings. Midjourney effortlessly creates images from a simple text prompt that could be used on social media or your website. Synthesia is a video platform that uses custom avatars with a voiceover, or you can select from like an amazing library of ready to go options for really powerful demos and explainer videos. And Plus AI is a presentation builder that generates Google Slides from text commands, even from just a random bulleted list of thoughts. This is the tip of the iceberg on tools for that content creation use case. But what you may not have considered is AI specifically for that advertising use case, and AI for targeting audiences for digital advertising to find the right person or donor at the right time in an environment where user privacy and data regulations are constantly changing. So that's where Inuvo's AI comes into play. And Intent Key is, like I said, an LLM a large language model that we use to generate custom audience models. And our LLM is trained by reading the entire open web, and we organize that information into what we call concept graphs that connect thousands of topics and interests. And from that, we build models that activate ad placement by matching media to what is most in line with those concept models. And then looking at future cases, wow, I wish I had that crystal ball. Our team attended an amazing AI event in New York City this spring. And one of the speakers said, the first rule of AI is never trust someone who acts like they have it all figured out. But, what we do know is the capabilities of tools like Sora from OpenAI, which is producing movie quality videos, is mind-boggling and certainly will disrupt even more in the content production space. And AI's ability to learn from just massive amounts of data will only grow, enabling these tools to be that much smarter and that much more accurate. And then there's built-in into AI integrations from platforms that have been around a while, like Canva, that's dramatically changing, and it's putting a lot of different AI techniques into one UI. So now that we are on the same page of some AI definitions, we've seen a small part of what AI looks like as of today in the ever-changing landscape, all the tools available, some specific use cases. Christina will now guide us through what this means for the nonprofit use case and how to vet and apply AI across different parts of your organization.
Thank you, Katie. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So again, tons of different applications, tons of different ways. What does it solve? AI can help with donor management, donor targeting, insights, volunteer coordination. We can impact the measurement as well as make that communication more personalized and impact analysis. Back to the creation, the content creation. Sometimes that can be very expensive. Video can be very expensive, but you want to, be on a certain channel with a video. AI is now making it more affordable for nonprofits to internally make those high quality videos that can go on CTV or in a video campaign of sorts that can, feel like you have a whole set, a director, a producer, and everything. But really, it's just you and a couple of people from your team that are able to make this and really, get the most bang out of your buck. So, what we do and how, branding and outreach and how we are able to reach new audiences with AI. You can go to the next slide. Is to enhance your return on investment. We want to increase those donor retention. We want higher engagement rates, and we want to improve fundraising outcome. And we have had some proven results that we'll dig in a little deeper here in a minute that show that specifically for nonprofits. But back to how, Intent Key works and how it's so special is we're segmenting out those donors. So let's look at maybe one of the ads, the KPI or the call to action is donate today. And we see a certain segment of donors that are clicking on that ad, and they all have one thing in common. They all have wiener dogs. And so we decide, hey, we just noticed they're also looking at content about wiener dogs and they're clicking on this. Maybe the next ad, we put this specific dog in there and see if it goes up. So it's using the AI to deliver the message, but also to recraft the message and make your communication better to drive that return on investment even more because of the predictive analysis. You can go to the next one, Katie. So real, overview of this. This was a nonprofit client that is running a national campaign, and it's for hunger relief in America. We wanted to discover, drive new leads, qualified traffic to the client's website. A couple of background information. The year before, they had started seeing their social perform less and less, get more expensive, and they were just reaching the same donors. And their donor base was not increasing. And they knew they had to try out and test new channels and reach a larger donor base to introduce their brand to it. They had tested CTV with another vendor, and it was not successful. So the client had a little, hesitation to do it again. However, once we started implementing the prospecting that we use with our Intent Key AI, we were also able to discover through display and through native different concepts that we graph together, such as ratings on Charity Navigator, GuideStar, as well as if they were passionate about childhood hunger, veterans, animals, and religious. Was also a good motivator for this particular nonprofit. Then we could study the CTV habits, the watching habits, and that allowed us to say, hey, Discovery Channel and different things like that, the Food Network is indexing high. We're going to be able to deliver these messages specifically to these users that are passionate about all these concepts and are reading about all these concepts, and actually go to the right channel and deliver that message to them and show that brand to them. The result of that was over 1,000 donations that happened. This was about a 3-month time period test. Over 1,000 donations happened. Results from the year before, we increased the web visitors, the new web visitors, by 103%, and beat the year before same time their CPA by 61%. It was crazy. So the good thing is it worked, and it was very special because it really allowed them to then in turn recreate some of their older videos that they had based on the concepts we were pulling out and that we were seeing in real time to get prepared and use that for the next campaign. So a little bit, why is this so, useful now. The decay of the cookie has been happening. I think that's about an 8-year time span so far. And one of the reasons Google keeps pushing it back is because they themselves have not figured out how they are going to continue to attribute their advertising that people are buying to the campaign success. So this has been, again, what users want. Users as us, we want privacy, we want to be safe, but we also want relative content and advertising to come to us, which is exactly what IntentKey does, based on reading the entire web and building those specific audience models so that the ads and the brands that you're seeing advertising on is more relative to you. And this, again, kind of goes back through, what's happening, what's coming, but it is a future-proof advertising solution. Again, where the cookie is impacting is targeting and attribution. It reduces the targeting precision, kind of like retargeting. It also decreases the ad relevance, and it can also be inaccurate. There's a lot of use of VPNs now, where when you want to geo target someone, their VPN they may be in Arkansas, but their VPN may say they're in Texas, and that's not right. So we can't be able to customize those messages. What we do with IntentKey and how we are able to target and show attribution without a cookie in staying privacy compliant is because we are basing it on real-time intent-based audience concepts, not who somebody is, but why they would want to do something and engage in a brand. So these ads are more accurate, and they can attribute, we can allow to see attribution across tactics and have a comprehensive campaign performance insight, which is one of the greatest parts, because as we're working behind the scenes, delivering those ads, finding those concepts and insights, we're then able to turn that around and present it in a full report along with the performance, so that you can be better prepared for the next time, like what we were saying with, changing up colors or putting a happy face child instead of a sad face child, because we realized that ad worked better for a particular audience model that we selected. So to wrap it up on our end, AI is transforming everything. And if you're not using it to save yourself time and make yourself look better, to be honest, you should try. But it's also essential for nonprofits. And it can, if used correctly, it can make your team of 2 or 3 feel like 30. The other important part is considering the ethics and the privacy in all of this. You need to choose, and vet the vendors properly. There's some AI tools that you can just go out and use free online. That's probably the best way to start. But when there is an investment, make sure you're comparing and you're not, going down the path of the wrong partner. And that's all that I had on that part. Do you guys have any other questions that we wanted to talk a little deeper on?
So I have a lot of questions, and but before I get started, I'm gonna pop this off screen. We're done with it, so I'm gonna pop that off. In the chat for anyone watching, I did drop a link to more like case studies and success stories from Inuvo. If you want to dig in there a little bit more, definitely hop in there and have a look. There's all sorts of stuff across tons of different industries. So I kind of want to, if y'all don't mind, what I would like to do is kind of like reverse a little bit, go back to the very beginning of the deck, and then move forward that way. So something that I think stops a lot of organizations, not just nonprofits, but nonprofits in particular, obviously, is kind of integrating AI into their fundraising strategies, right? So, and not even just their fundraising strategies, I guess, but just starting to use AI to begin with, right? Like, are we using ChatGPT to refine emails that we send to donors? Are we using it to refine our fundraising webpage? Are we, those kinds of things. So, some of that is like, oh, wait, well, I can't get my board on board, or these different types of things. But I think that, Christina, you said something really interesting, is that, you can take your little passion run organization where you got 2 or 3 folks who just feel really strongly, and you can start kind of churning out the work of 10, 20, 30 people, without necessarily having a background in those things. Right. So we talk so often to people who they started this, nonprofit because they feel so strongly about the cause, but their background is like, I don't know, they worked in retail, or they're a barber, or, they're an accountant, but they want to start a farm and an animal sanctuary, and so people don't always have the background necessary to make an organization successful, quote unquote. But they're just so passionate about it, they go forward anyways. So what I've always run into is there's always, hesitancy about how challenging it's going to be to implement AI. So what do y'all see when companies or nonprofits are starting to, talk to you, or just about AI in general, like some of the challenges that nonprofits face when they want to start kind of integrating that into their workflows and their fundraising?
Sure. Now is the time to be an early adopter, and something that I've heard before is, AI will not replace all humans, but humans who use AI will likely replace humans who don't. Mm-hmm. So overcoming any apprehension is step one. And, when first getting started, it's important to try not to solve for too much with AI. It's better to identify, specific challenges that AI can help address, and, start with those small, manageable projects. Think about one area, whether it's, enhancing your social media presence with AI content, or building those explainer videos that outline your mission, finding new online audiences to build awareness. The possibilities are endless, but you can put a lot of attention into just one area to first get started.
I really love that answer, because I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you can really bite off more than you can chew if you start using AI in every single workflow and process that you have, so start small, get comfortable with it, learn how to use it, and not only learn how to use it on that end, but like even engineering prompts for AI is its own kind of like little artistic endeavor, because it is, there are certain things that you have to do, and, how to refine and reiterate and hone things in. So, starting off small, that's a really good way to put it. We're just not going to dive in head first and add AI to every single thing that we do. So that's a good point.
Yeah. And, with prompts, the prompt engineering, it's like the AI version of if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you how many times I've started something, like, okay, I want to work on this, and I give it all the details, and then it's spitting stuff out of me, and I'm like, that's not quite right. So let's do this instead. Let's refine. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, I'm going to start a whole new one. Start from the beginning, because it's giving me some good stuff, but it's not quite where I want it to be. And now, like, sometimes I think I'm confusing it. But what I really appreciate about AI is that the more I talk with it, the less I run into that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's exactly right.
More and more about what I want from it, what tone I'm looking for, who my audience is, what I'm talking about. I don't have to remind it about this project because it remembers it from before. So I think it's really easy to get disheartened maybe the first couple of times you use it, because you're like, it's not really, what's the big deal? It's not really giving me exactly what I wanted. And it's like, well, you have to like kind of massage it a little bit in the beginning. Yeah. And then learns and it figures it out, and you figure it out. So
it's very iterative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Constantly refining to guide the output that you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are so many techniques to doing that you can find all over the internet now about the best cases, or the tips and tricks to refining your prompts, and those are really helpful.
Yeah, I actually went to one not too long ago with Jasper, and kind of, sat there and watched as they worked through. She took us through her workflow for creating content, and it was just very interesting to see like things that they did differently or did really well. Or I was like, oh, why am I not using AI to build my brief, but I'm using it to do XYZ, right? So, we're already at 2:40. So just a heads up, ladies, I'm probably going to skip some of the questions that we got in there. So we might jump around a little bit more. But what I would like to know, Christina, too, is something we talk about a lot is sentiment, right? Audience sentiment, how they feel about your brand or about your cause or about your organization. So is there a way for NLP, intent key, AI in general to help kind of identify what the sentiment is around your cause or your brand at any given moment? And then how can organizations use that information to improve their fundraising?
Yes, and that's one of the, great things about intent key is that we are able to identify. We talk about it as it's the best of contextual and behavioral targeting, because just because something is a negative sentiment doesn't necessarily mean that's bad. There's an example of a for-profit that we had a helicopter company that would pick you up from the airport so you could skip all the traffic in New York and whisk you over to where you needed to be. And they had a negative, sentiment towards traffic. Well, those are the perfect people to say, hey, would you like to fly a helicopter over to your hotel and not worry about that?
Yeah.
So again, it works just a lot like the human brain and a lot like us, where we use experience and knowledge to make connections and decisions. And we have the ability to link those signals, whether they are negative or positive, to make a better impact, to get that user to make that next donation. So having the ability to quickly process those feelings from the content that the user's reading online is what is allowing us to understand the unique reasons why those consumers are visiting those pages and why they would support a particular mission.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And I love that you put that information in there, speaking about the negative sentiment, because I think people are always like, so
negative is bad. It's
negative is bad. Negative means we're not, but it's so funny that you said that, because I remember I actually got served something from one of the like helicopter things, and I was like, I can't afford that. Like, what are my shopping habits saying that they think I can afford this? I mean,
That's scary.
go back a little bit. Yeah. I was like, maybe I should stop doing so much online shopping. But yeah. So I want to, Katie, I want to really quickly go back to the prompt engineering, because I don't want to gloss over that. But how does prompt engineering work in the context of AI driven creation, and specifically for fundraising campaigns, but like maybe a couple best practices that people should keep in mind whenever they are prompting AI, whether it's, Canva or Jasper or Chat GPT or, Intent Key or any of that?
Okay, sure. It really depends on what you're asking the AI to do. So if it's something very tactical, like, I don't know, organizing a list, breaking down like complex processes into steps helps the AI to be more thorough at each step. So, you can tell it first, alphabetize this list, or second, organize by donation level, something along those lines. But, maybe your need is more around outreach, and maybe you're needing to write an email about a specific donation goal. And that's where, details are really important. So the more specific, the better. Your prompt might be like, please create a heartfelt email for our end of year campaign and emphasize the importance of blah, blah, blah. And, mention our goal of raising 50 grand, how every dollar helps. And then continue to iterate from there. Those adjectives matter, and believe it or not, politeness can matter too. It's funny, like we've joked that like it's just our Southern hospitality where we ask it for please and thank you and all of this. But again, this AI conference that our team went to in New York, there was a speaker there that said positive reinforcement can actually help guide the AI to know that it's delivering a favorable response. So if you tell it good job, it's going to keep doing the same thing. And if you tell it, hey, that wasn't quite right, it's going to learn from that too.
Yeah. That's so funny because I'm from Texas, so maybe it is the same thing, but I find myself saying, this is what we're going to do today. Does that sound good to you? Okay, great. Thank you. Good job. Please. So that is interesting, but I do love that, that positive reinforcement does actually, it takes something from that.
Yeah.
That kind of freaks me out a little bit because it's like so human, right? Like you always talk about, positive reinforcement in work or with your kids or at school. And we think about AI being, it's a machine, it's a thing that's learning, but positive reinforcement is good for anything, I guess. So that's good to know. Okay, cool. So I want to talk about intent keys specifically, Christina. So can you tell me a little bit more about how Intent Key, which is Inuvo's key product, identifies potential donors who are genuinely interested in giving? And I know we chatted about it a little bit, but how that differs from traditional targeting methods. I know, anyone that's put an ad up for anything, understands how the targeting works, but you don't always know it's going to hit right. So how does Intent Key work differently from that?
So, and particularly with nonprofits, a lot of times the traditional method may have been getting a list, an old list of donors that donate to lots of different things. Well, what happens is all the nonprofits are getting that same list. They're all reaching out to those same people and asking for money. Well, and a lot of them are older too, that may be on that list. And, your donor pool can actually die off. And so you have to be looking at new ways to attract new donors that may not be on that list, and new donors outside that list that are passionate specifically about your campaign or your cause versus someone else's, so that you're not hitting the same person that everyone is asking for money. So in that traditional sense, the untraditional or the new key, the new way of doing it is, again, back to focusing on why they're interested in supporting that nonprofit and what they are doing online in real time, and uncovering those insights that are different. And it may just be a random thing. I know I mentioned, having a specific dog, and so they're going to give to this charity, or maybe that it's the color green that is showing, that is really working on the creative. And we notice that, and all in the concepts, we see all this green. So we don't target the main difference is we don't target off those same lists that of potential donors that maybe all nonprofits are using, that is based on who they are, because we want to ensure that message is reaching the right audience who is ready to give, and ready to give specifically for what your cause is.
That sounds a lot like future proofing, which is something I probably harp on a lot to folks. I'm constantly talking about you need to be making sure you have all these different mobile payment options, and you need to have tap to give, and you need to have you need to be taking cryptocurrency, because at some point that's and so future proofing is so important, because as much as you hate to say it, people are dying, they're dying. The old people who are, maybe they have a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Disposable income. They do give more right now, but you still should be looking ahead to, okay, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, they are going to continue to earn more money. They're going to continue to have new interests, new causes that they care about as they grow and change as people too. So you always need to be able to look ahead into the next generation that you're going to be able to reach out to. And while of course, our boomers and our exennials are always going to be important too, but if all you do is target them, when they stop giving, you're going to find yourself in a really tight spot.
So and getting someone when they're 25 and maybe they can only afford to give $100 a quarter, that's okay, because they'll be 35.
Yeah, exactly.
and it'll grow and grow and grow. And if you continue to fill your funnel with all of those people, then you won't have the issue of running out of donors once they leave.
Right. And you when you grab them, and then you have to be able to stay engaged with them, make them feel, make them feel like they're making an impact, which is a huge part of fundraising, right? Is sharing that impact and letting donors see what they've done. But you got to keep them, because at some point, like you said, they will be 35. Yeah. They will make more money. Hopefully. I make more money now than I did when I was 25. So I hope that works like that for most people. But, they're going to get themselves in a place where they're able to support you differently. So you want to make sure that you can kind of grab them and keep them, not just focus on reliable. So I'm going to pop this one slide back up real quick too, because Katie, I was very interested. When y'all sent this over me to look at, and I was looking at this concepts part, where it's like highlighting free meals for kids, affected by natural disasters, help homeless people, which those are like broad reaching concepts, right? So, Katie, can you kind of elaborate on how we took these broad concepts for this organization, and we're able to integrate that into that campaign strategy so that it did resonate with those potential donors in order to then donate and help with the hunger relief campaign?
Sure. I love this question because concepts are the core to our solution. So you can think of a concept as a why-based unit of knowledge. So it could be about people, places, things, products, media, ideas, even emotions, going back to the sentiment. Concepts are generated by our LLM. So our LLM is reading content on the web. It's constantly reading and creating concepts that it organizes into that concept graph that is going to connect thousands of topics and interests. So that is the information that we use to build our audience models. So concepts act as the fuel to match media to audience models, and therefore activate ad placement. So let's go to this example. If free meals for kids is an important concept to the audience model, and free meals for kids is important to a web page with an ad spot, the AI would make a decision within milliseconds to place an ad because it sees that intent connection. And then, going back to what Christina said, what's so powerful about the concepts is we also share these insights with our clients. And, we may discover that strong theme of, dogs within concepts that could help drive creative changes. So yeah, if dogs and pet owners is suddenly showing up and it's signaling, this strong intent, we would share that with the client to say, hey, perhaps you need a creative that shows a dog. So the concepts power so much. And, we've laughed that it's almost like this 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah. So when you think about the concept graph, and every concept has concepts that has concepts. And so it just creates this huge web of opportunity to target somebody else. So, free meals for kids wasn't something that we took to the client to say, hey, implement that into your campaign. It was a learning from our AI to match and target intent better.
Okay. That makes sense. Perfect. Cool. Okay. I'm going to pop that back down. There we go. Excellent. Okay. So we only have a few minutes, which I'm actually somehow shocked that we don't have any questions, because I always feel like the ones that I'm like, they're going to have so many questions about this are the ones I get no questions. And then the ones where I'm like, this is such a, we're going to lob this. They're like, we need to know more. I have a couple more questions for y'all, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the contact us page for Inuvo in the chat, and then I'm also just going to drop the intent key page in the chat. That way, if people are clicking around, they know how to contact y'all. They can, set up a call or ask questions or whatever they need to do. I know that we're throwing a lot of information out here right now. I imagine people will have questions when they dig through it a little bit more. So, okay, I have 3 questions left. Let's see if we can get them done in 5 minutes. How we feel about that? Okay, let's do it. Christina. So, what specific advantages does Intent Key's real-time intent-based audience discovery offer compared to a traditional cookie-based targeting method? And I know we kind of chatted about this a little bit earlier, but how does this specifically benefit nonprofits who want to engage donors more effectively?
So when it's happening, like Intent Key's running right now and graphing out different algorithms and different concepts and different audience models before a campaign even starts. Yeah. It's thinking and it's utilizing that. When you start a campaign with us, what happens is our real-time decision making happens to where you still need a human to press some levers, but because that AI is thinking and going so quickly, they're able to, within 5 minutes, evaluate a bid request based on a concept and a website matching up. So they can literally, if they are reading something about homeless veterans and it's a positive or negative sentiment, towards that ad can go right up there while they're reading that within 5 minutes. So that real time is what is so special, and it really empowers marketers, and it empowers them to test and understand news channels that maybe have been more lengthy in a process to make those decisions for them.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, when we're talking about real time, so, let's say Intent Key has made this connection. There's a human on the other end who says like, okay, let's give it a shot. When you're like, we always say, well, you got to give it a few weeks to see if it works and if it's going to be successful before we try or change anything else. Do you find the same thing is true using Intent Key once they throw an ad up there? Do you feel like it's the same kind of like, we're going to sit on this for a little while, or do you feel like you get really good feedback right away and can know if it's working or not?
There's definitely a test to it. You don't want to give up too quickly, but that is another thing that Intent Key does is able to measure and then shift people out of the audience model. If we're going on a specific concept and it's not working, we haven't seen a donation or we haven't seen that interaction we want, we say, okay, wait, that didn't work. And it's able to get it out as quickly as it was in.
Okay, great. So they very quickly can identify this particular audience model part is not working for us.
Yeah, everybody has, every campaign is different, have different frequency, or, how many impressions does a user need to see before they go to the site? So because we know that, if we've shown that many for that person and they haven't done what we want them to do, then that concept and that user gets out of the model.
Yeah. Okay, that makes complete sense. So one of the other things, and you touched on it a little bit towards the end of the presentation, was we were talking about privacy and ethics. So ethics has just been such a big topic, I feel like, around AI, using it ethically. How do you tell people that you're using it? What about an energy saving type thing? So when we're talking about leveraging AI for donor management specifically, what are some key ethical considerations that nonprofits need to keep in mind when they're doing that?
I think that you have to really vet and choose your partners wisely. I mean, again, we love AI. It makes our job easier, but sometimes that human to human connection can mean something real. You don't want to, when you need support, you want to be able to pick up the phone, or you want to be able to have a video chat with a real person and not a chat bot, to know that someone is looking at the problem and helping you through it. So, there are a lot of companies out there, and where we really stand out is we put privacy and ethics at the forefront. And that's really the privacy issue, and the privacy changes that are happening now is why that Intent Key was created, because we knew that there was going to be a problem. And so I think that, because there are so many different options out there that you still do have to vet and make sure that you're picking the right partner that you feel strongly with, that can also, because you want to be able to trust them and use their education, their background, and their knowledge to make those decisions for you, and then tell you, hey, we did this on the fly. And if you trust your partner, then you're okay with that because it made a great result.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good to know. So both of you, this is my last question because we are going to go over, but just kind of reflecting on what we've talked about today, where do you see the biggest impact that AI is going to make on nonprofit fundraising in a whole over the next 5 years? Like, where do you really think it moves the needle for nonprofits, fundraising, organizers, the whole shebang?
I feel like you have to explore, you have to experiment. When you're building those budgets and when you're asking the board for different things, put in a research and development budget, because even though that, part of our AI is an ad campaign, it also allows you to get those insights that you are researching and developing your brand and your strategies moving forward. So when you have something like that built in, you can be a little bit more free with how you are and what products you are investing in to see if they will work.
Yeah. Okay. Katie, do you have anything that you want to add there?
The only thing I would add is just going back to that, the attitude to embrace it and to not be fearful, and to look at it as, that personal assistant that sits on your shoulder all day, or the tool in your toolkit that you were missing. So adoption is going to be a necessity rather than something that we choose to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's just such a good way to put it, is just, you got to explore, get yourself out there, play around with some things. There are going to be tools that come and go, companies that come in and go, but AI has been around in some form for a very long time. It's not going anywhere. So work it into your workflow somehow. I mean, I just started with content creation. I was like, I am having a brain freeze. I don't know how to get started on this thing that I need to work on, so I'm just going to ask, and, I'm going to be like, I need to write, this is. And also I meant to say this when we were talking about prompt engineering, and I just remembered it. One of my favorite things about prompt engineering and talking with the AI is I will always ask it before it gets started, is there anything else you need to know from me in order to XYZ? And so that has actually really helped me learn what more it needs from me, so it doesn't have to ask me questions in the future. I know where it is lacking information that maybe I didn't think to give. And so I meant to say that before, and it just totally slipped my mind, but now it's there. So I'm just going to remind everyone.
Absolutely. And because it's going to, learn from that too.
Yeah.
And remember it within your conversation. So
yeah, it was great. Okay. Well, I think that this has been a great conversation. I feel like we could talk for probably 2 more hours easily. And keep really digging in, but I'm going to drop it in there actually right now. I'm going to drop in for everyone watching. This is just the contact form for Inuvo. Get in there, ask them questions, look around. I'm going to drop also the intent key landing page itself, so you can play around there too and learn a little bit more information. And if you need anything, they are there to help you. But I feel like this has been I'm actually like very interested in talking about this a little bit more with y'all, maybe, on my end even. But this has just been a great conversation. I feel like I learned a little bit more, and I hope everybody else here did too. But thanks for joining me, ladies.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a great day. We are out of here.
Bye.